Letter to ex-husband. Gary, my love, I am writing this to you in hopes that you will read it. Thank you for saving me today. This is the second time you've done this. Of course, the first time it led to our divorce. I almost got in trouble again, didn't I? Perhaps it was because I was thinking of you. Today would have been our anniversary. We would have been married 10 years. It was nice to see you, even if you hardly spoke. In fact, you only warned me about the pub. I went to the same pub where we once met. That day you were sitting at the bar drinking your pint of cider. You were wearing that old tattered biker jacket, those old jeans and those old boots. Now I know you didn't have to wear those clothes, but you were comfortable. Now I know you owned a storage company. You looked so serious even though you were chatting with your friends about soccer. You were always serious, weren't you? I remember when you bought me a Manchester United shirt so I could sleep in it. You said I was the sexiest woman in the world when I put it on. You made me feel like the sexiest woman no matter what I was wearing. Having a tall, strong male gentleman looking out for me was amazing. Sorry, Gary, I'm rambling. I'm going back in time. Anyway, at least a few hours ago, I was sitting there drinking half a cider when two men started talking to me. I didn't encourage them. I really hadn't been with anyone for 2 years. I wasn't interested in being picked up. So I'm sitting there in jeans, a t-shirt, and Doc Marten boots, standard kit when we went out together, right, Gary? Anyway, they kept me chatting and buying me drinks. I knew what they were doing, so I sipped my cider and didn't really drink much. At least I thought so. They were both large men compared to me, of course, and I was a little worried about what might happen if they insisted. I looked around and saw that I was the only woman in the bar. When one of the guys, Rob, touched my knee and another guy, James, touched my shoulder, I realized that I had made a mistake coming here. It was then that I heard heavy footsteps and hoped it wasn't another guy wanting to grab a piece of me. But I felt it was you. At first, I didn't want to turn around. I smelled your aftershave, the one I bought you. I turned slightly and looked down. I saw that you were still wearing those old steel toe-work boots. I could also smell your leather jacket as you walked up to the bar. You didn't say anything at first. You put your hand on my shoulder and turned me to face you. You touched your lips to mine for a moment. I almost died of shock. You hadn't changed a bit, maybe a little more jaded, and now you shaved your head and had a little goatee. But you were still the handsome man I knew. The men must have known you, and they noticed the way I looked at you. They both apologized to me and to you and went to the end of the bar. Thanks for saving me. I was being stupid again, wasn't I? You didn't say anything to me. You just took my hand and led me to your car. I tried to talk to you, but you didn't answer. I know you swore you'd never speak to me again, but damn, it really was dead silence. We got to our house, my house, and you walked around the car and opened the door for me. Finally, you said to me, "Next time, be more careful. This pub isn't what it was. Take care." With those words, you drove off. I went into the house, cuddled up to our cat Misty, and cried. Gary, my love, I know we divorced 2 years ago, but honestly, you are hard to replace. I have not met a more caring or kind person in the 2 years we have been apart. I know it was my fault that we separated and eventually divorced. It's a good thing we didn't have children. I have heard from friends how divorce can affect children. I want to say I'm sorry for what happened. You know I didn't have meaningful sex with that bastard, but as you know we did make out. That's how you found us, isn't it? And I crossed all the boundaries we set for ourselves. Until now, I haven't had a chance to write or talk to you since you left me. I haven't had a chance to tell you that I'm so sorry and that it was the only time anything like that happened. He boozed me up most of the night, and I was on a business trip 300 miles away from you. I was homesick and sad because you weren't there for me. I rarely got to travel, but it was a big contract and I had no choice. I know we played online while I was there, but the fact that you weren't physically with me got to me. The bastard, my coworker who was helping me with my contract, was polite, said all the right things, and after a lot of drinking, I didn't feel threatened when he suggested we move to a booth at the back of the bar. My brain didn't engage. I just didn't want to blur the eyes of those around me. I was wearing the evening dress you bought me, the black one with the deep neckline and slits on the sides. I know you liked it. I know the bastard liked it too. It showed off my legs and, yes, my breasts. But hey, a woman should be able to wear what she likes without interference. Yes, I know I shouldn't have worn a dress like that to a hotel bar. I probably got an overabundance of attention from various men and even a couple women. Anyway, the bastard led me over to a booth and pushed me into a corner. He wasted no time and started kissing my neck and moving his hand up my leg. I know my eyes were closed, and in my mind it was your hands on my body and your lips on my neck. I could feel myself starting to respond to his touch. His hand slowly moved up my thigh to the panties you bought me for my birthday. His lips kissed my breasts and traveled down to the hollow between my breasts. To my utter shame, I reacted, my body reacting against my brain's wishes. I felt aroused, I felt hot and horny, and this man I had mistaken for you was pushing the right buttons. To my shame in my drunken, clouded mind, I let him sleep with me. I was cheating on you. Well, you know the rest. I pushed the bastard off me and he hit his head on the table. I fixed my dress and cleaned myself up. It was hard. My brain wasn't working and you had to help me. I remember you took me in your arms. Then you helped me up the elevator and then into my room. Then you gently laid me on the bed. I don't remember anything after that. I woke up and you were gone. I don't know how you got to the hotel or how you left so quickly. I took off my dress and took a shower. I felt so dirty and disgusted with myself. I knew why you left. I knew I had hurt you irreparably. I saw in the cold light of day how I had ruined our marriage. After taking a shower, I packed my suitcase. I couldn't stay in the hotel any longer. I needed to talk to you. Not to explain, I didn't see any point in it. I don't know how much you saw, but I assume it was enough. Enough to destroy our marriage. It just so happened that I was checking out, and so was that bastard. He looked awful. He was walking with a limp, and his eyes looked puffy, and I could see he was walking like someone had kicked him hard in the balls. He saw me and tried to speak, but his mouth was too swollen, and he also seemed to be missing a few teeth. I guess you made it clear to him in detail that you shouldn't mess with a married woman. I wish I'd done the same. Anyway, you know the rest. I got home and saw the letter you wrote me. I expected it. I know we have strict boundary rules, and I broke them. I could blame the drinking, but honestly, I shouldn't have let it happen. I shouldn't have let that bastard get me drunk or touch me. I'm so sorry, Gary, but I know you can't trust me anymore. I know you'll never speak to me again. I knew you would be fair in the divorce, and I knew that even if you were angry with me, you would never hurt me. I read the letter you left for me that said you wanted to surprise me and drove all night to be with me. You saw the bastard with his hand under my dress. You also stated that you were confused because I said your name. Yes, I was thinking of you and imagining it was you kissing and touching me. Anyway, this all happened over 2 years ago. I'm working in the office now as an assistant to the managing director. Don't worry, he's almost 65 and fat, but he's a good man, as is his wife. They have both bailed me out several times. I'm as happy as I can be without you. No, I never saw that bastard again. I did go to see his wife, though. She wasn't surprised that he cheated on her, and remembering that night, I explained to her what had happened, and she ended up kicking him out and divorcing him. He lost his job, and frankly, I don't know, and I don't care where he is. So that brings us back to the present. Why you were in the same town as me, and why you were in the same pub as me, and more importantly, why you saved me from yet another stupidity. Please contact me, Gary. You've been like a ghost to me. Everyone we know keeps saying you've left town or even gone abroad. But I have a feeling you're in town. And even though you shouldn't be, you're looking out for me. If that's true and you're around, you know I haven't dated anyone since my divorce. It's not because I couldn't, it's because I didn't want to. All I ever wanted was you, and I'll die knowing I lost you. I know you said to move on, but I can't. I'll probably end up a lonely spinster with 10 cats. Anyway, Gary, my love, my silent ghost, get in touch with me, okay? I'm sending this message to an email address. I hope you haven't changed your email address and will read it. I will wait as long as you need. Your loving ex-wife, Carrie. Reply to ex-wife. Carrie, well, I admit I'm surprised to hear you say that. I've been trying to stay away from you. I still feel something for you, otherwise why did I save you from those vultures? I'm a little embarrassed about my feelings for you. I've forgiven you, and maybe under different circumstances I'd like to be friends again. But when I close my eyes, I see you and that bastard, and thoughts of who else you could have been with cross my mind. Yes, I know you said it was a one-time thing. Yes, I know you said you were drunk. All of that may be true, but what I saw changed the way I felt about you. You know, I'm a complicated and serious person. I don't do anything without a reason. That day when I drove 300 miles to surprise you and ended up finding that bastard touching you was a shocking day for me. I'll admit that he and I had a conversation. It wasn't a good conversation. I just beat the shit out of him and told him never to talk or meet you again. I'm glad you found a new job, and I'm glad Fred and his wife are looking out for you. Yes, I know them, and yes, I recommended you to them. See, sometimes I can be a good guy. As for saving you from those guys in that pub, they obviously knew me. But they didn't know who you were. I really haven't talked about you in the last 2 years. There's really no need. They saw a beautiful woman sitting at the bar drinking. Just so you know, this pub has changed. It's no place for a single woman. Some of the women I know have complained about inappropriate touching by men in the pub. It's what some people call a meat market, so please don't go there again. As for keeping an eye on you, well, I may have been watching you, but only through mutual friends. I asked your friends to tell you that I wasn't around. If they told you I moved or left town, that was their choice, not mine. I actually live in a studio apartment a few streets away from your house. I'm surprised you haven't seen me running around the streets. Yes, I do run now. I work out at the local gym. Yes, I've seen you walking to work. A few times you've even walked past me and looked at me. I thought you might have recognized me. But then again, I have changed my appearance somewhat. I'm glad you approve. So just so we're clear, I haven't stalked you, but I have helped you at various times. If you think about it, you might remember something. Anyway, now you've got me talking incoherently. Yes, I own a warehouse company. Yes, I could stop working, but I prefer to help out in the warehouse. Okay, enough about me in the past. Honestly, I do feel something for you that I'm not quite sure about, but I think it's time we had a private conversation. I haven't had an affair in my life since we got divorced. I won't say I haven't had anything with anyone. Your friends probably kept you in the loop about my love life. So I definitely wasn't a monk. But I just didn't find the same connection with anyone as I did with you. I know, it's sad, isn't it? Two lonely people in the world trying to move on. I know I told you to move on, and I tried to take my own advice. But when I close my eyes at night, I think of you. So I'm not sure how we're going to do this. I remember the saying, never go back to an ex-wife or ex-girlfriend. So I take a risk. I want to meet up, just to see if my feelings for you have changed, or if it's really time to move on and really get over you. I'm leaving my phone number. When you're sure of your feelings for me and if you're serious about having some kind of relationship, then let me know. I promise nothing and expect nothing. We will be 2 people for the evening, at least that is my expectation. And just so you know, yes, I watch Manchester United and I still have that shirt I bought you. I'd love to see you in it again someday. Okay, enough of that. Contact me, find a place to go on a date, a restaurant or a diner to go dancing. It doesn't matter. Just find a place where it's convenient. And let's see what happens, shall we? Wednesday. I was sitting at my desk sorting through some papers when my cell phone rang. I didn't recognize the number and wanted to ignore the call. I don't usually answer unknown calls, too many scammers calling. But then I realized it could be my ex-wife, so I answered. Hi, this is Gary speaking. Hi, Gary, it's Carrie. Is this a bad time? It's okay, Carrie. Remember, I'm the boss. I'm available anytime, I said nonchalantly. I felt relief on the other end of the wire. Gary, you mentioned in your letter about going on a date, she said cautiously. I mentally smiled. Yes, I did mention that, didn't I? And yes, I'm serious. It's time for us to talk. Do you have a place in mind? Actually, yes, Gary, there's a new restaurant that opened up recently. It serves gourmet food. A couple of my friends have been there, and they loved it. And on Friday nights, they have a regular DJ. And if the customers want to dance, there's a dance floor. So I took the liberty of making a reservation for 7:30 on Friday nights, if you don't mind. She hesitated a moment before continuing. If you want, we can change the place or time. Carrie, that's okay. I know a restaurant I've been meaning to go to sometime myself. And 7:30 p.m. sounds good to me. I understand the dress code is casual. So if you don't mind, I'll wear jeans and a shirt. You know I hate suits. I felt her relief and joy. Thank you, Gary. That means so much to me. And yes, you can wear what you like, but I'm going to try to impress you. So don't be too surprised if I dress glamorous. Okay, if that's what you want, Carrie. Anyway, I'm looking forward to tonight. Just remember, no matter how things turn out, no matter what happens, I don't want preconceived ideas, and don't put too much into this evening. I don't want to hurt you. Gary, honestly, I'm just glad we're talking so I can be with you for a little while. Anyway, Gary, I need to get back to work, whatever it takes. I love you very much, and I will do whatever it takes to get you back. The last words came out of her mouth in a rush, as if she was afraid I would stop her from saying it. Okay, Carrie, thank you for telling me how you feel. To tell you the truth, I knew you wouldn't stop loving me. The other question is if I can love you again. I look forward to you trying to convince me. For now, I'll see you on Friday. I'll meet you at the restaurant, okay? Gary, thank you again. This is more than I could have hoped for. I'll be waiting. Now I have to go. Goodbye, my love. I could practically feel her happy smile, and yes, I smiled too. Goodbye, Carrie. See you on Friday. I disconnected the call and leaned back in my chair. Was this a good idea? I thought to myself, if I really wanted to go back to Carrie, partly yes, but partly not sure. I sorted out the paperwork and walked around the warehouse talking to my staff. When it hit 5:30 p.m., I left work and drove home. It's Wednesday, so 2 days to get ready. I grabbed a bite to eat and then headed to the gym. I went into the men's locker room, changed, and then went out to the training area of the gym. I turned to the punching bag hanging from the ceiling and beat the bag with my fists and feet, sweating profusely in the process. There were probably 10 people in the gym. I wasn't really paying attention to them. I was focused on the punching bag, however. When I stopped hitting the punching bag, a woman I knew walked by. She was wearing headphones, and she was focused on herself. She was wearing a cropped top and tight shorts. Her legs looked slim and trim, and her stomach was flat and tight, her breasts bouncing as she walked. Her ass was tight, too. Her long blonde hair was gathered in a ponytail, and she walked with a smile on her face. It was a smile and a face and a body I knew. She really moved and looked great. Yes, it was Carrie. I didn't know she worked out at this gym. Several men saw me looking at Carrie. One guy I knew, David, who I sometimes sparred with, laughed and said, "Gary, no chance. She won't let anyone near her. Almost all the guys around here have asked her out. She just tells everyone she's married and not interested in any relationship." My face must have been a picture. David and I watched Carrie use the rowing machine. Then after 5 minutes, she got up and went to the cross trainer. Watching her butt move was very interesting. David saw me looking at her intently again. "Gary, buddy, don't even think about it. She's not interested. You can stare all you want, but she certainly won't let you touch." I tried to hold back, honestly, but with everyone looking at me, I stood up and slowly made my way toward Carrie, who didn't see me. Instead of scaring her and causing an accident, I walked beside her and waited for her to notice me. It took her about 5 minutes to stop practicing. Then, slowly, as if in slow motion, she turned her head, looked at my body, then her gaze moved upward. She recognized my t-shirt, after all. It was the one she had bought for me, an old t-shirt with guns and roses, and then her eyes looked at my arms and shoulders, assessing my body mass and muscles, then met my eyes. At first she was shocked, like she couldn't believe her eyes, couldn't believe it was me there. Then a huge smile appeared. She took off her headphones, hopped off the cross trainer, and jumped on top of me. I actually considered backing off, but only for a moment. When she jumped, I caught her and she put her arms around me and started kissing me. I felt a surprised silence in the gym. The only sounds came from Carrie as she kissed and hugged me. "Gary, Gary, I can't believe you're here," she said between kisses. I gently lowered her down and pulled away. I turned around and yes, everyone in the gym had stopped and was looking at us. Carrie realized what was happening and blushed thickly. I took her hand and we walked to the small kitchenette at the back of the gym. Once inside, I closed the door. Carrie immediately threw herself on top of me again. She put her arms around me and laid her head on my chest. "Gary, my love, thank you for letting me do this. I've been dreaming about this for 2 years." Carrie, could you go outside for some fresh air, just for a minute? We need to talk about something. Mainly, why are you telling everyone we're married and why haven't you dated anyone in 2 years? Surely someone would have caught your eye. Gary, listen to me. 2 years ago, I screwed up and you punished me rightly. I didn't like you doing that to me, but I can understand why you did it. Anyway, for 2 years I worked hard, and I spent that time getting in shape. She turned around to show off her body. Gary, this is all for you. No other man or woman has ever touched me. As you probably know, I told everyone I was married to try to discourage molestation. It didn't always work, but your name carries some weight around here. And when someone tried their luck, I mentioned that I was your wife, and for the most part, I was left alone. For a moment, I thought that if all of this was true and it was easy to find out, then maybe I could try to develop some sort of relationship with my ex-wife. Okay, Carrie, I admit this evening was a pleasant surprise. You look fantastic, and yes, I understand why you're being hit on. I admire you for waiting for me, even if I didn't actually come back to you. So I suggest we continue our classes and then on Friday we meet for our date. I stood up, hugged Carrie, and kissed her forehead. Holding hands, we both walked back to the gym. The looks on the faces of the people in the gym were amusing. David walked up to us. Gary, you lucky son of a bitch, you're her husband, aren't you? Well, technically I was, but she's my ex-wife, I said as I held Carrie's hand. He smiled and said, So she's not married to you. Can I take Carrie out for a drink? Simultaneously, both Carrie and I said, no. Okay, I got it. After patting me on the shoulder, he left. The others went back to their equipment and everything went back to normal. Carrie and I practiced together, and then I helped her lift some weights that she couldn't lift like I could, but it was still impressive. After another half hour, we were done, and holding hands, we headed towards the gym lockers. We turned to each other and spoke at the same time. I raised my hand, and she paused. Carrie, it's been great working out with you, and it's been good to be with you, and it's nice to know the truth about you being here. I'll say again, you look fantastic. I can see you've been working really hard. You're doing great. Gary, my goal was to look good, feel good, and maybe get your attention and maybe start a dialogue with you. What happened tonight was amazing for me. I love you, Gary, and I always will. This body is yours, and you can use it anytime you want. I'll be waiting for you, my love. As she turned away and headed for the women's locker room, she stopped, turned around, and lifted her crop top and sports bra, showing me her B-cup breasts. Gary, this is yours, my love. She smiled and turned away, and I went straight into the shower and turned on the cold water. Friday. Friday at work was busy, but I admit I was distracted. The image of Carrie in her workout clothes and her gorgeous breasts, and her confession of saving herself for me and only me really made my mind flip. Yes, I checked her story, and all my friends and Carrie's co-workers confirmed she only went out with her family and close friends. She always went home early. She didn't drink in the evenings, only Coca-Cola or some other soft drink. She doesn't dress particularly flashy in the evenings, preferring to wear casual clothes. As for the gym, everyone I talked to said the same thing. She didn't encourage or talk to any man who approached her. So after exhausting all my tracks, I came to the conclusion that my ex-wife was waiting for me. Apparently, that time when I caught her with another man was the only time. Knowing all this information and making a decision tonight, I expect the date to lead to other evenings together, at least as far as I am concerned. Finally, the time reached 5:30 p.m. I gathered my things, walked around the warehouse wishing my co-workers a good weekend, and then headed home. I got a beer out of the fridge, went upstairs, stripped down, and picked out my clothes. Even though I own my company, I'm not a fan of suits. I wear jeans and t-shirts and only wear suits to weddings and funerals. I picked out a decent pair of jeans and a new shirt. I shined my shoes so they would at least look normal, then headed for the shower. After that, I trimmed my beard and shaved my head. I looked at myself in the mirror and thought I didn't look too bad for a middle-aged man. I thought about the last 2 years without Carrie and the different women that have come and gone during that time. I know that sounds bad, but they all realized that they had no chance of being my next wife. Some even advised me to move on and actually leave my ex-wife in the past. One or two tried to make me forget Carrie by almost killing me with sex. But that was just it for me. Soon a rumor spread that I had no feelings, and I overheard that my nickname at work was Sushi, cold fish. Friends and colleagues stopped inviting me to clubs and pubs, and yes, women stopped asking me out on dates. So now, 2 years later, I'm going on a date with my ex-wife. Is that so? I finished my beer, went downstairs and walked out of the house, locking the door behind me, got into a cab and told the driver where to go. I got to the restaurant and walked up to the bar, ordered a beer and just sat at the counter looking around. Someone patted me on the shoulder and coughed. I turned around and almost dropped my beer. Carrie was standing in front of me. She was smiling from ear to ear. She stood there letting me look her over from head to toe. She was wearing a black, sequined, strappy top and a black skirt to match. Not so much a miniskirt, but pretty short. The black high-heeled shoes made her look taller than she actually was. The clothes fit perfectly and emphasized her tight, perfectly built body. "So, Gary, did I pass your test?" she asked in a seductive voice. My eyes told her everything. I stood up and leaned in slightly and kissed her on the lips. "Carrie, you are beautiful." She blushed and said, "Thank you, my love. You have no idea how long I've wanted to hear you say those words." Then she hugged me. I let her press her whole body against me. The bartender said, "Get a room, you two. And buddy, don't let her out of your sight." She spent an hour fighting off all comers. I saw him smile, but there were a few men around us looking disappointed that she was hugging me. I let go of Carrie and she took my hand and we walked to the table she had reserved for us. There were already 2 bottles of beer on the table. When we sat down, Carrie took my hand with one hand. With the other hand, she raised her glass, and we chugged lightly. "Here's to a new beginning, my love," Carrie said with a hopeful look on her face. "Yes. Cheers, Carrie, to the future," I said, looking into her eyes. "Gary, thank you. You must be nervous. So am I. I have no idea how tonight is going to go, and I just want us to have a good time. And of course, I want to reconnect with you." "Carrie, let's just order some food, have a beer, and then we'll see how it goes. I think you're doing everything right in convincing me to give us a chance. You looked great in the gym. You look great here now. Let's just see how it goes." So we did, talking about everything Carrie has done over the last 2 years. She started by telling me about her current job and thanked me again for my help. She is very sorry for what happened that night with that bastard. She repeatedly told me how stupid she was and that if only she could turn back time, she would never have let him seduce her. With tears in her eyes, she told me how she coped without me, working out at the gym to get fit. Then she said, "Gary, I want you to know that I haven't had sex with anyone for 2 years, since my divorce. I know it's hard to believe, but somewhere in my head I've been saving myself for you." I looked at her and I said, "Carrie, look at you. You are gorgeous. You are a red flag for every bull that looks at you. Every man in this restaurant looks at you wondering if they might have a chance with you. So you really want to tell me you haven't had sexual intercourse in the last 2 years?" "Yes, Gary, I swear I have not had sex with anyone. You know I've been having a hard time since I saw you at the gym." "Gary, touch me. Feel what I'm like," she said as she slid her tongue into my mouth. I met her tongue as we kissed. After a few minutes, she stopped kissing me and leaned back in the seat. She looked so beautiful and sexy, and her face and neck flushed as she tried to regain her breath, just like it used to be when we had sex. I leaned over and kissed her gently on the lips. "Hi, are you okay?" I said quietly. She slowly opened her eyes and looked at me. She then slowly sat up and sipped some of her beer. "Wow, Gary, I'm sorry. I think I lost control. I think I messed up the seat," she said with a smile. Once Carrie had calmed down, we ordered our food. Actually, we only ordered one portion and split it between us. We fed each other bits of food. Yes, we looked like teenagers on a date. Well, maybe we were. We finished our meal, had another beer each, and then headed to the dance floor. The time was getting close to 9 p.m., so not many people were dancing, and the music was quiet enough for us to keep chatting. We both closed the alcohol issue and switched to Diet Pepsi. Carrie had learned her lesson, and yes, I wasn't drinking that much either. 3 beers was my limit. Carrie moved into my lap and kissed me. My love, I am your date tonight and hopefully for the next 30 or 40 years. I kissed her back. Yes, Carrie, that sounds like a very good idea. Would you like to dance, my lady? I said somewhat exaggeratingly. Carrie accepted my hand. Of course, good sir, I would love to dance with you. I led her to the edge of the dance floor and we hugged and kissed, and without any prompting, Carrie began to dance. She danced around me, rubbed herself against me. At one point, she jumped into my arms, kissed and pressed herself against me. Of course, others did something similar too, but Carrie outshone them all. We danced and kissed on the dance floor for a few more songs, and quite a few single men looked impressed by Carrie's dancing and looked at her with lust. I put my arm around her and led her to a door labeled Beer Garden. We pushed the door open and saw a group of picnic benches. There was no one outside because the weather wasn't really cooperating. I picked her up and led her over to one of the benches and we kissed passionately, our tongues wrestling with each other. I pulled the straps off her shoulders and kissed the top of her breasts. Carrie unhooked her bra. I took the hint. We were not cold at all, on the contrary. We were delighted by the internal heat. Gary, I've waited 2 long years for this, she said. Finally, she whispered in my ear, Gary, give me back my love, my husband. We both shuddered and shook as we climaxed. I pulled my ex-wife to me, kissed her neck, and stroked her breasts. Carrie, I love you. You're the sexiest and most beautiful woman I know. You've really convinced me that you're serious about us being a couple again. Anyway, thank you for tonight. Carrie put her skirt back on and pulled up her top, covering her breasts. She was a woman who had just been fucked, but she also looked very beautiful. I kissed her on the lips and took her hand. We opened the door to the restaurant, and every man standing near the dance floor escorted Carrie out with their eyes. I led Carrie to a table, we paid for our food, left a generous tip, and then walked hand in hand out of the restaurant. I'll call a cab and we'll go to my place. I must warn you, though, I only have a sofa bed, it's queen size, but it may not be what you're used to. Gary, you're fine anywhere, even if we sleep on the floor. When we got to the house, Carrie was already asleep. With little difficulty, I unlocked the door and led her upstairs, carefully laying her on the bed and undressing her. I found one of my shirts in the closet that she had bought me a long time ago, put it on Carrie, and then covered her with a blanket. Then I stripped off my clothes. I figured a shower could wait until tomorrow. As soon as I slid under the blanket, Carrie reached up and curled up against me, resting her head on my chest. Her breathing was slow and steady, and soon my eyes closed as well. Just before my brain shut down, I asked myself, was I better off with or without her in my life? That was my last thought before I fell asleep peacefully.